I'm going to tell you this, my entire company, my entire team, if you don't have a six-pack, you don't work for us.
What the f? I've gotten quite a few DMs over the last couple months. Hey, Matt, what do you think of Andy Elliot? Whenever I go on TikTok and YouTube, he's always on my feed. He's super popular in the sales space. I think he focuses on car sales trading. So I'm going to run through some of his popular TikToks and provide my thoughts.
Somebody else give me another industry in this room right now. What'd you say?
Water treatment.
Water treatment. Okay. Do you get anything about it or no?
Of course.
Okay. Do you do?
Yep.
Where at?
Right at the end of the sales.
How many kids do you have? Most of these people, they have houses, they got families.
Right.
How many people are in this household?
Let's say 4.
4. What are their names?
John, Julia, and
John, write it down. Go ahead.
Julia.
Julia, write it down. Go ahead.
Sarah.
Sarah, write it down. And?
Nicole.
Nicole. If you had to write a check for what these 4 people's safety was worth, you probably couldn't write the check, could you? But if you could, it'd probably have to be at least $99. Would you agree? Yeah. Guys, listen to me. You wouldn't have made the call if you weren't willing to make a decision. Close that motherfucker. Easy.
Okay, I thought that close was smooth. I thought it was really cool. He came up with that on the spot. He's selling to car salespeople, but he was able to successfully pivot and sell something different there. It was a common sense close that would probably work a lot of the time. My only critique with this is the objection was I need to think about it, and there was no acknowledgement and no questions to better understand what the prospect needed to think about. Whenever you get an objection, you can't just steamroll and use a smooth close like this. Take a step back, let the prospect know that I hear you, I'm with you, I'm listening to you actively, and then you want to ask a couple questions to better understand what they need to think about, what their hesitations are, what you're up against, to give you, the salesperson, the opportunity to respond correctly to hopefully, if it makes sense, move that conversation forward to hopefully give yourself the opportunity to close and using a cool close like this. But based on this first clip, I can tell that Andy, he's a very smooth salesperson.
I'm gonna start, watch, come here, grab you, come up here real quick. So we're sitting in the dealership, all the numbers are out. What does that mean? That means he's got a worksheet, he's got a write-up sheet, he's got a trade evaluation card, he's got a credit application. He just served me numbers. I say, hey man, I really appreciate it, David. Thanks for showing me all the numbers, but I need to think about it. Go.
Hey Andy, I appreciate that, I understand. I've been doing this a long time, and what I've learned is that when people say they need to think about it, it's usually one of 2 things. Now it's either number 1, the car, which I don't believe it's the car. You told me you love it, we went on a test drive, we had a great time. Number 2, I believe is what it would be, which would be something's wrong within the numbers of the deal. So what is it that's concerning you the most, Andy? Would it be the price, the payment, or the trading value? Which one? Point to it.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, yeah, good job.
I thought that car salesperson who is being trained by Andy and his team did a great job in handling the objection. I need to think about it. Whether you're selling cars or you're selling software, you are going to get this objection all the time. There's 2 different ways I like to handle Matt, I need to think about it. The first way is a label. So whenever I get Matt, I need to think about it, I might say something as simple as, it sounds like you have some hesitations here, with a little bit of a down tone in my tonality and my voice to help with my delivery. It sounds like you have some hesitations here. Labeling or mislabeling is number 1, showing the prospect that you're listening. It's acknowledging. And number 2, typically a label or a mislabel will elicit more information out of the prospect with exactly what their hesitations are to give you the opportunity to handle those hesitations head on to move the conversation forward. The second way I might handle Matt, I need to think about it, is very similar to how the car salesperson being trained by Andy handled it in this TikTok. Chris, you mind if I ask a quick question? Yeah, go for it, Matt. Chris, I've been doing this a long time, and typically when folks like you tell me they need to think about it, it means one of 2 things. Number 1, they're not interested, but they don't want to tell me that because they don't want to hurt my feelings. Or number 2, they're interested, but they're not quite sure yet. Which one of those 2 options better fits how you're feeling right now about the situation? That's how I might handle Matt, I need to think about it. I really liked how the car salesperson handled it. The only mistake they made, I think, is they presented two options and they took away the first option, that it's not the car. I don't care if a prospect says they like your software, they like your technology, they like the car. They might just be telling you that. Don't take away this first option. Present both. Take a step back. Let them pick which one is holding them back, what they need to think about, and now you have the full picture. But I thought this car salesperson did a great job in handling. I need to think about it. It comes up all the time in tech sales.
I've got a couple more cars I want to go look at. I'm going to get back with you. Hey, I totally understand. Hypothetically, let's say you had already gone and seen all those other vehicles, all of them, whether it was 2 or 20, it doesn't matter. Let's say you drove every one of them. And then mine was the last one you went and looked at. After driving every single car, in the end, what would be the deciding factor on which one you probably end up buying? Would it be the car itself, regardless of the deal? That's option A. Or would it be the great deal that the dealership was willing to give you? Look at the smile on my face. I'm leading you here. Or would it be the great deal that the dealership was willing to give you? Which one? I'm going to lead them here. They're going to say, well, it'd be the great deal. You say, cool. So it's not a matter of if you're going to buy, it's when. And the when is when the deal's right? They'll always say right. And then you say, awesome, so if I could save you some time and money, would that offend you in any way? Would you be upset with me at all? No? Thank goodness. Stick your hand in their chest, take them inside. That's how it's done.
That is definitely not how it's done. I doubt this works in car sales. It definitely does not work when you're selling software in tech sales. This was super salesy, I thought, my opinion. It was super aggressive, stick the hand in the chest. That is completely ridiculous. This is the problem with sales gurus on YouTube, social media, TikTok, Instagram, for example. They'll teach you as salespeople, and I used to buy into this. You're going to say this. The prospect is definitely going to say this next. Once they say this, you say this. Now you have them, and you're going to close the deal. That's what I used to think sales was. And I used to memorize these word tracks, and then I realized that doesn't do me any good because that's not how a conversation works. A conversation is not just a linear experience. It could go many different ways. And that's what I think is wrong with the sales community in most parts on LinkedIn and YouTube. And that I'll leave for another video. But you're going to get the objection, I need to shop around. I want to look at other solutions all the time in sales. Whenever you get that objection in tech sales, take a step back. Chris, when you think about this project, what's important to you folks? What are the few items on your decision criteria that you're looking at to evaluate the different vendors? When you find out what's important to them, present why you might be a good option. And also present why you might not be a good option if you're not. And present a few other competitors that might be. That is going to build trust. There's nothing you can do as a salesperson to stop somebody from shopping around. They should shop around. You're a buyer just like them. When you're out in the market looking for something new to buy, you're always going to do your due diligence. Look at YouTube videos, read reviews on G2 to make sure you're buying the right product. You're going to want to test it out in a proof of concept in tech sales. Take a step back, ask what's important to them, understand that, present why you might be the right option, and then you want to book the next meeting. In tech sales, whenever you're going to get hit with, I need to shop around, your next step needs to be, I want to get these folks in a proof of concept. Because if I get them in a proof of concept, and I run the proof of concept the right way based on how I learned how to do it on this YouTube channel because I'm subscribed to it, there's a 70% chance I'm going to get this prospect across the finish line. But I thought this technique he used here of you say this, I say this, ridiculous, salesy. It doesn't work in car sales, and it definitely does not work in tech sales.
Wendy, on my Honda Pilot, I spend $100 a week in gas. You notice how I wrote that down and I labeled it? And Mr. Customer, you'd agree there's 4 weeks in a month. So roughly right now, you're spending $400 a month in gas, plus the $350 a month payment that you pay to the bank, $750. Now on your new vehicle, right, would you agree better gas mileage, less money spent? Yeah, well guess what? I'm gonna cut your gas in half, going from a Honda Pilot to a Kia Optima. So It's gonna be $50 a week. There's gonna be 4 weeks in a month. That's $200 a month in gas. $500 a month, okay? That's what you're gonna pay to the bank. But let's take the $200 in gas plus the $500 a month that you're gonna be paying to the bank. That's $700 a month to own the new car. You put your money in the bank. When the money leaves the bank, that's the real money spent. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, your new vehicle is only gonna cost you $700 a month to own between gas and payment, where currently you're paying $750 a month on your old car. You're saving yourself $50 a month. Thank you so much for your business, guys. Sign right here. I appreciate you.
I don't know about you guys, but I was completely lost when he was throwing all those numbers and doing the math on the whiteboard. If I was a potential customer and a car salesperson like Andy did this, I would not trust it. I would get up and I would walk out of the dealership. So I was completely lost. ROI no longer works in sales. I came across this study by Gong a couple months ago. If you bring ROI up at any part of the sales process during any of your sales conversations with a potential buyer, it will decrease your close rate by 27%. ROI only works when the prospect is sold and the ROI helps justify their decision. Instead of using ROI, what you want to do is tell a before and after customer story where you can incorporate ROI in that story, but it's not the focal point.
Hey, cool. Yeah, I just want to go look at these other two, man. If you could just get me your card, that'd be cool.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, well, just come on in.
Okay, stop. No, hold on. What I'm doing is this is how we train. Does that make sense? We love you. Does anybody think less of him? No. We're good. Guys, this is where we grow. My question is, do you want to grow or stay the same? Grow. You know where the grow is? Run into pressure. Pressure creates diamonds or burst pipes. Dude, I've had people run out the door and say, F you, I'm not doing this. Those people, they need to get out. You guys are all trusted by your company to take care of these customers. It costs $500 roughly in advertising per customer to get someone into the store so you can practice on them? No. No ways in hell.
That was the best Andy Elliot video I've ever seen on the internet. I agree with everything he said in this video. If you aren't practicing every single day, if you aren't role-playing at the start of your day before you pick up the phone to cold call and getting warmed up, and you get that first connect of the day and it doesn't go right, you just practiced on the prospect. You only have a couple opportunities in sales to either meet with a potential buyer or speak with a potential buyer. Only a few opportunities. If you're wasting those opportunities by practicing on them because you weren't role-playing every single day, you weren't spending 30 minutes with your sales manager running through every objection you might get hit with that day, whether it's cold calling objections or closing objections, you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the prospect a disservice, and you're doing your company that is paying you a lot of money because you work in tech sales a disservice. Professional salespeople practice at least 30 minutes every single day because they know they only have a few at-bats a day and they need to make it worth it for themselves and the prospect, and you only do that by being warmed up. Never practice on your prospects. I agree with this video 110%.
Hey, Jacob, I appreciate it, but I need to talk to my wife.
Hey, 1 second. Ian, you know what? Hold my legs real quick.
Let's go, baby, let's go. You're gonna do it upside
Hey,
down.
I totally understand. As busy as life is for people when it comes to purchasing a vehicle, especially with the family, it's generally a planned event. When you left your driveway this morning, I'm almost certain that you and your wife had a conversation on what the deal needed to look like in order for you to feel completely comfortable making a decision. And the second with the vehicle, that should be extremely happy with the safety and the fuel economy, and we're well within your budget. So Andy, let me ask you a question. If I can save your wife the trouble of having to come all the way down to the dealership, plus save the time of having to sit the entire process, and you can be the hero that takes all the headache out of the deal, would that upset your wife in any way at all? Would it?
No.
Damn right.
That was pretty cool that he could do that on a handstand because I am not that athletic at all. I would fall flat on my face and probably break something, but that is not how you handle that objection. I need to speak with my wife first, or in tech sales, I need to speak with my business partner first. Think about it. If my dad right now were to go to a dealership and come back with a brand new truck, which he doesn't want a truck right now, and he did not ask my mom first to get her thoughts, and he just bought a $50,000 truck, they might get divorced. They probably wouldn't, but you get what I'm saying. You can't do that in sales. Whenever you get the objection, hey, I need to speak with my wife, or I need to speak with my business partner, your first step is you need to isolate that objection. Chris, outside of having to speak with the CFO, Chris, outside of having to speak with your wife, is there anything else holding you back from moving forward with the deal? This is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to make sure that I need to speak with my wife is the real objection. And number two, it's going to make sure that there aren't any other objections you need to handle to move that conversation forward and close the deal. So you first want to isolate that objection. Chris, outside of having to speak with your wife, is there anything else holding you back from moving forward with the deal? Once they verify that they only have to speak with their wife, the next question should be, well, Chris, you know your wife. Chris, you know the CFO way better than probably anybody else. What objections do you think they would have in terms of moving forward? What hesitations would they have? Try to find them out, and then your next step after that needs to be to set up a conversation with Chris, his wife, or the CFO. You need to bring everybody to the table to sit down and have a conversation, because now I have to try to close the wife or the CFO. Chris is already closed. Isolate the objection, find out what hesitations they might have, and then book the next meeting where all parties are sitting around a table or sitting on a Zoom, and you can understand their hesitations, handle those hesitations to close the deal. That's how it's done. Not like this, however, it was very cool that he was able to do that on standing on his head. The one big takeaway from this is he had that objection handler memorized. Memorize your objection handlers. They're going to come up, practice them every single day. What are my thoughts on Andy Elliot? I think he is a little brash. I think he is a little bit in your face, but that's his style. It works for him. I think he's a super talented salesperson. He's built a great company. He's making a ton of money. He's helping a lot of salespeople out. I've watched a lot of his content over the last couple of weeks, and I've gotten some good tips out of his content. Is he my style? No, I think he's a little bit like Grant Cardone. I am not a Grant Cardone fan. I could do a separate video like this about Grant Cardone, reacting to some Grant Cardone videos. If you want, let me know in the comment section below. But like Grant, there's some things that I resonate with and I like, and I think he is doing a great job with branding himself on social media. He's blowing up right now, and you know, I'm sure if he watched some of the videos on my YouTube channel, he would disagree with a lot of what I have to say about tech sales and tips and cold calling and closing, and that's just a thing. There's different styles in sales. Some I like and some I don't. His, I'm kind of 50-50 on.